We're now joined by Mr. Sanjay Behl, Executive Director and CEO, Greaves Electric Mobility. Thank you so much for speaking with us, sir. My first question to you is, of course, from your perspective, what is the future of the EV ecosystem in India? What are some upcoming trends?
In fact, I believe that the formats are going through differential levels of evolution. Given that more than 80% of vehicles on Indian roads are two-wheelers and three-wheelers, and they also fall in the affordable bracket as compared to the other, formats of transportation, they will be the first one to really move on, and that's the trend which is visible. The fastest growing segment actually is electric three-wheelers right now, with over 10% penetration already of electric vehicles on Indian roads. Uh, Electric two-wheelers are a little under 5%, but let's assume that 5 out of 100 vehicles already have converted into electric two-wheelers, and that's about probably 18 to 24 months before it reaches the inflection point from where it will take off a completely different curve. And then there is the rest of the passenger vehicles, and both in terms of four-wheelers and electric cars, as well as the bigger vehicles, commercial vehicles there. The big trend that I see is that the estimates of the current estimates that we have of about close to about 10 million vehicles becoming EV by 2025 will get surpassed, is my view. Yeah, the industry will see a much faster adoption. My sense is that we should be looking at almost 2 in 3 vehicles by 2030 to be electric in India, led by two-wheelers, which will be over 90%, and three-wheelers almost 100% will be electric. Of course, 1 in 2 cars also will turn electric. And if you just do a weighted average, you're looking at almost 2 in 3 vehicles running on Indian roads to be electric in about 7 to 8 years from now.
All right. Thank you so much for that, sir. How is India working towards creating an Atmanirbhar supply chain when it comes to the EV ecosystem?
I think one that we are sitting on a absolutely awesome opportunity, not only to become Atmanirbhar Bharat in terms of supply chain, but actually become a manufacturing and skilling hub in this industry for the world. So actually, it's a double-sided kind of an advantage that we are sitting on. First, to come to Atmanirbhar supply chain for EV industry in India, I think it goes well beyond the components that we normally talk about, where you get FAME subsidy. I think it also goes to manufacturing equipment, to equipment which manufacturers the components also need to be made in India. Currently, we have import dependencies on the other part. But let's come to only component part. In the components, while the complexity of auto components dramatically comes down when you shift from a petrol diesel vehicle to the tier 1 level, a lot of Indian manufacturers are really auto component manufacturers are getting better at, and the industry is maturing. It's really the tier 2 and tier 3 components where India is still dependent on imports. For example, the rare earth metals, 70% of the global supply chain is dependent on China today. Talk about magnets, which go into the motor controller unit. Pretty much 90% of the supply chain worldwide is controlled by China there. So the moment I move under the battery to the cells, it's imported. But the good thing is the enabling ecosystem that government is putting, and the industry, academia, and the government, all three coming together, we are starting to see real evidence on the ground of the change happening. For example, this whole advanced chemistry cell fund which was issued, and the PLIs which have been given for that last year of about 18,000 crores by the government of India. We already seen some of the big powerhouses, Indian corporate houses, really investing in that. So cell chemistry will change, and then my sense is that we should move out of lithium, or at least materially go to sodium ion, and maybe in future hydrogen, which is the fuel of the future, as we all know. So you're looking at a 2 to 5 year roadmap of a dramatic shift happening on the cell, and that will be a very big Atmanirbhar supply chain once your cell and battery both are being done by Indian manufacturers. The second thing is motor controller unit, which is also a part of the electric powertrain. In that, we have dependence on magnets. Magnets are entirely almost coming from China. They pretty much control the global supply chain. Now, do we have enough magnet and the value addition in India? I think it could take us a decade. So we should not really focus, but really change the chemistry and see if we can get into non-magnet motor controller units. Like there are a lot of innovations happening. Toyota has invested some there, and there is a SRM technology which is coming, which talks about a non-magnet motor there. So that can make India Atmanirbhar on that part there. So you're looking at the chunks of 5 or 6, and then comes a semiconductor. Now, between battery cell, motors, magnets, and semiconductor and IC chips and TFT clusters, pretty much if you can get these three sorted, you're talking about 100% local or Atmanirbhar Bharat on supply chain. on semiconductor, this India semiconductor mission, which has just earmarked 80,000 crores for investment, and we know Vedanta and Foxconn have come together and are putting about $20 billion investment, aided also by the investment of Indian government, incentive of the Indian government, all putting together. I think we did miss a boat in semiconductor in the world, but I didn't think with India's might and skill and intent and ecosystem coming, I think we can do a very good catch up in the next 5 years and then actually be very secure from the future point of view. So I think combination of all these things will make it. And then I said my machinery and this recent budget that Union Minister announced was so encouraging, where they talked about the EV manufacturing equipment, of the components itself, the duty coming down from almost 25% to under 10%, I think is a very welcome move. So just look at the confluence of everything coming together. I think we have an absolutely awesome future in terms of Atmanirbhar supply chain.
Thank you so much for that extensive answer, sir. And of course, what are your thoughts on the platform curated by ETAuto, which is the EV Conclave? How's it different when you compare it, in the industry? What were the highlights of your session? If you can just share your thoughts on this.
No, I would like to congratulate Nabil and the entire team of ETAuto. This one is possibly one of the most balanced in terms of the real issues that confront not just the OEM industry, but all the stakeholders of EV. And not only was the overall 2 days have such a balanced agenda of all the burning topics, issues, opportunities, everything coming together, but I thought even the composition of the panels has been very, 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 very thoughtfully done with the right players. In fact, in my panel, which I talked about the supply chain, there was a supplier, component supplier there was a policy maker there, I was part of the OEM, and then there was somebody who represents the port, international port. Yeah. So this entire balance brought around, I think, the real insights that all have to come together to really make the piece move, going forward. So I thought even that has been done well. And some of the speakers are absolutely, I must compliment the ET team for getting such tall leaders, thought leaders, industry leaders, everybody coming together in this 48 hours and really talk about the industry issues. So compliments to you, of course. Honorable Union Minister is going to be here very shortly, and he's going to talk about also the vision. So I would compliment you and the entire ETAuto team for doing a wonderful job.
Thank you so much for speaking with us, sir. Stay tuned for more updates from day one of ETAuto EV Conclave.